Hi, I'm Madison Doyle. I asked for 12% of the company I helped expand across continents. And they laughed. My sister Brianna led the applause. The same sister who took credit for the system I designed reassigned my name off every project and locked me out of my own office with a smile. My parents? Silent. My legacy? Erased with footnotes. But the moment that truly broke me wasn't in the boardroom. It was later, alone, staring at a memo where her name had replaced mine. And just like that, I understood. This wasn't family. This was warfare, disguised in silence and signature lines. The fall light sliced through the glass panes of the Doyle Global boardroom, cold and clinical like the people seated at that long oak table. My slides were pristine, my voice steady. I respectfully proposed 12% equity in exchange for my 3 years leading international logistics operations, specifically the South American expansion that boosted revenue 17% year on year. There was a beat, a silence I dared to hope was consideration. Then Brianna leaned forward, her manicured fingers steepled like a judge about to deliver a sentence. 12%? Her voice rose theatrically, each syllable a sharpened dart. What empire do you think you built, Madison? Her laugh cracked through the room like thunder. And then, as if on cue, the rest of the boardroom erupted. Chuckles, smirks, shoulders shaking. I saw one of the junior partners hide a grin behind his palm. My mother looked away. My father adjusted his tie, the way he always did when he wanted to pretend he wasn't present for something ugly. My heart didn't break. It clenched, hardened. My skin stung with invisible slaps, but I didn't flinch. Tessa Blake, my old college friend turned HR executive, reached across the armrest and offered a well-practiced smile. They're probably just surprised. You caught them off guard. Her voice was soft, like a towel over a grenade. Surprised? Yes. How surprising that someone who actually contributed would want more than applause. Brianna stood and strutted toward the projection screen like she was about to unveil the cure for cancer. Let's just look at what's been done this quarter, she chirped, bringing up a growth chart. The slide glowed on the glass wall. Upward spikes, multicolored bars, glowing trend lines. But one thing was missing. My name, my division, my region. South America was credited to regional coordination, whatever that meant. And the massive Port Santo project? Filed under Leadership Expansion Team, which meant Brianna. Or rather, it meant a version of Brianna that didn't mind stealing credit through clever phrasing. I looked at the footnotes. Nothing. I looked at my father again. He blinked, but didn't speak. My mother picked invisible lint off her lapel. I could feel every heel clicking on that marble floor echo in my chest. It was a clean betrayal. Elegant. Painless, for them. A sweet stab right in the forehead. I closed my laptop quietly, the way one might fold a flag over a coffin. Thank you for the update, I said, standing. No one responded. As I stepped into the hallway, I heard another ripple of laughter follow behind me, trailing like a toxic perfume. But just before the elevator dinged, I turned back. Through the soundproof glass, past the smirks and screen glare, one figure stood near the edge. Nora Carter. She wasn't laughing. She wasn't smiling. She was just watching. Having your name removed from history doesn't make you vanish. It makes you dangerous. Tessa's email still sat unopened in my inbox. Her subject line as saccharine as always. Hope you're okay. Call me? But Nora's text was different. Director, short, no emojis, check the October 12th memo. Look at the footer. That was all it said. But it was enough to crack something open. I hadn't stepped into my old office since the meeting. Not because I couldn't stomach it, but because the security badge no longer worked. I had become a ghost, technically still on payroll, but reassigned to remote strategy oversight, a fancy title for exile. That afternoon, I walked into the basement level of Doyle Global, where the air smelled like printer toner and old carpeting. No glass walls here. Just cubes, file cabinets, and Nora Carter, quiet, loyal, and usually invisible to people like my sister. She slid the document across the table. It was folded, not stapled, as if that tiny omission mattered. The memo they sent to external partners. Read the last line, she said, tapping the bottom corner. There it was. Project lead, B. Doyle. No mention of me, no co-author, just a neat erasure. The digital signature line, once populated with my encryption ID, had been replaced with a placeholder. I looked up. They deleted my name. No, Nora said calmly. They replaced it. She told me about the budget meeting 2 quarters ago, how Brianna had publicly blamed her for a misallocated column in the quarterly report, how Nora had nearly been demoted, saved only by an internal review. She does it clean, Nora said. Always, no fingerprints. As I scanned through the pages, it hit me that this wasn't just about pride. It was legal. This memo, this reattribution, it wasn't accidental. It was a rewrite. I went home. The condo was still, bathed in amber light that made everything look older, dustier than it was. I sat in front of the closet safe, key in hand. Inside was a matte black hard drive, smaller than a paperback. I plugged it into my laptop, bypassed the 2-factor with the backup code I hadn't used in over a year. And there it was, the Lumen blueprint. Lumen had been a concept I dreamed up on a red-eye flight back from Sao Paulo. An overhaul of our global logistics chain using predictive analytics, blockchain tracking, and staggered hub realignment. I'd written a 12-page design proposal, mocked up sample dashboards, then emailed it to Brianna with the subject. For your eyes only, could be big. Now, that exact system was being praised in internal updates and external memos as the Brianna model. I zoomed in on the original scan. Bottom right corner, my signature. Time-stamped, encrypted, with file hash, unforgeable. The phone rang. Tessa, I said without checking the ID. Hey, just wanted to see how you're doing, she said lightly before switching tones. I mean, are you going to sue? I'm only asking because, well, the media's distracted right now. Labor scandal at Medora Group. You could get some momentum. I said nothing. I knew that tone. Concern dipped in curiosity, the kind people used when they weren't sure whether to hug you or screenshot you. I'm just saying, she added, it might be your moment. I ended the call without responding. Back in my office, I encrypted the folder again and burned 3 copies onto cold storage drives. One for legal, one for insurance, one to be mailed anonymously, somewhere strategic. My fingers hovered over the drive, the Lumen schematic still open on the screen. I could feel my heartbeat shifting. Not fear, not rage. Just a pulse of certainty. I have everything I need, I whispered, looking at the encrypted drive. Now I just need someone who knows how to burn a castle down. You don't need fire to destroy an empire. You need roots. Quiet, hidden ones. Alan Conway's name hadn't crossed my mind in years, until I found the coffee-stained folder in the bottom drawer of Grandma Margaret's cedar chest. The day she handed it to me, her hands trembled more from age than emotion. Just in case, she whispered, like she knew something I didn't. The name was scrawled in blue ink across the top tab. Conway, confidential. His office smelled like cedar and resolve. Shelves lined with thick law books, titles in fading gold, leather chairs that creaked like they remembered better times. It was the kind of place that didn't care about quarterly metrics or boardroom optics. Madison Doyle, he said, smiling faintly, extending a hand. You look like her. Margaret? He nodded, eyes softening. She once threatened to sue the county over a zoning ordinance that blocked sunlight into her garden. He chuckled. We didn't win, but we made headlines. I handed over the folder I had brought. Not the sentimental one, but the real one. full of digital printouts, screenshots, metadata logs, and 2 sealed drives. This is everything. The proposal, my original emails, memos with edited attributions. And this, I pointed to a folder tab labeled October 12th Memo Discrepancy, is how they officially erased me. He took his time, leafing through the papers, tapping a pen against his bottom lip. The ticking of the grandfather clock behind him sounded like a countdown. After 20 minutes, he closed the file and looked up. "You could sue," he said simply. "A clean case. Attribution theft, breach of internal IP contracts, reputational harm. The company would settle quickly." I stayed silent. "Or," he said, leaning back, eyes sharp now, "you could build something better. Strip them down by subtraction. Take their market, their clients, their edge, quietly." The idea had taken root days ago, but hearing it aloud from someone who knew the game turned it from fantasy to plan. "Lumen Logistics," I said. Alan raised a brow. "The original name for the predictive routing system. It's still unused in trademark databases." I checked, he smiled. "You've done your homework?" 3 years of it," I said. Just then, Nora entered, carrying a sealed envelope. "The HR contracts you asked for," she said softly, placing them on the desk. "And one more thing." She pulled out a folded page. It was Brianna's signature authorizing an internal reassignment, Nora's transfer out of the logistics team. Dated 6 weeks after Nora flagged financial inconsistencies in Brianna's division. Alan reviewed it silently. Pattern of retaliation, useful. We worked for hours. Alan outlined legal precautions, shell registration structures, and IP protections. Nora listed former vendors who had quietly contacted her, disillusioned by Doyle's internal chaos. I highlighted the first 3 clients I wanted to approach. Finally, Alan placed his pen down and met my gaze. "Madison, let me ask you, do you want justice, or do you want to win?" I didn't blink. "Both," quietly. His nod was slow, almost ceremonial. He opened the drawer, pulled out a blank sheet of letterhead, and began drafting our first formal filing. Not to the courts, but to the USPTO. The first move in a war they wouldn't see coming. As we wrapped up, he unfolded a set of blueprints. I had drawn them weeks ago, sketched ideas for what a Lumen headquarters could be. Warm, open, rooted in the values I had once tried to bring into Doyle. I rested my hand on the paper. "Let's plant something." They sued me first, which was cute, considering I already knew they would. The moment I opened the envelope marked urgent and saw the header, Doyle Global Logistics versus Madison Doyle, I didn't flinch. I just texted Alan. They finally blinked. "Let's move." I had promised myself on the day Brianna snarled, "You're nothing without this company," that I wouldn't scream, beg, or threaten. I would make her eat those words with a silver spoon, served cold. The courthouse smelled like damp stone and dusted ambition. Rain tapped against the tall windows like a metronome for tension. I walked beside Alan through the granite corridor, the echo of our steps bouncing off marble walls. It was a Monday, but it felt like a finale. Inside the courtroom, rows of hard wooden benches flanked the aisle. Brianna sat at the plaintiff's table, jaw clenched, hair tight in a bun she only wore when trying to impress authority. Her attorney, someone too expensive to smile, leafed through a printed exhibit binder like it held gospel. Alan leaned in. "You ready?" "Been ready since they forgot who designed the damn system," I replied, scanning the room with a cool detachment I hadn't known I could muster. The case began like every bluff. Overconfident. The plaintiff's side launched into their argument. A breach of confidentiality, misuse of company IP, reputational harm. They even painted my new venture, Lumen, as a predatory startup. Then Alan stood. He didn't pace. He didn't raise his voice. He began by presenting a simple, calm narrative. Internal emails, proposals dated and time-stamped. design blueprints that match the so-called confidential systems now being used at Doyle. Exhibit after exhibit laid out like dominoes. One push, and they'd all fall. He handed the judge a sleek USB drive labeled MD Evidence Vault. Your Honor, the defense has maintained an unaltered, encrypted chain of custody log across all development documents. You'll find the original project structure, the routing algorithms, and internal memos. All authored and signed digitally by Ms. Doyle. Many, before she was removed from record. The judge glanced at Brianna. Ms. Doyle, do you dispute the authenticity of these documents? Brianna opened her mouth, then closed it. Her lawyer whispered something. She adjusted her blazer. Her gaze flicked downward. Cross-examination began. Alan pointed out inconsistencies in dates, phrasing, file metadata. He exposed how the October 12th memo had been edited using Brianna's login credentials, at a time when I was overseas. Brianna's composure faltered. Her answers were shorter now, sharper at the edges. The courtroom, cold and silent minutes ago, suddenly felt like it was holding its breath. Finally, the judge spoke. The plaintiff's motion for injunction is denied. Further, this court will hold a formal hearing in 3 weeks to assess the defendant's claim of co-foundership and intellectual property rights. A hush fell. Even Brianna looked stunned. As the judge stood and adjourned, Alan leaned toward me. That's one wall cracked. Outside, the rain had eased, but the air was still thick with storm. I stood under the overhang, letting my breath fog up in the November chill. Then I saw her. Nora. She crossed the street briskly, hoodie pulled up, shoulders hunched. No words. Just a folded paper pressed into my hand. Her voice was low. They're preparing something for the conference. Be ready. They built the stage to praise Brianna. I used it to bury her lies. The chandeliers above the grand ballroom flickered like stars on command. 500 chairs filled with industry titans, journalists, and investors sat in perfect rows beneath crystal arcs and velvet drapes. The Doyle Global Logistics logo was backlit in silver above the stage, monumental and imposing. I waited behind the black curtain, hidden among cables and stagehands, heart steady. Mid-November had brought a quiet chill to the city, but in here, under the golden lights and designer suits, the temperature was rising by the second. Brianna stood center stage in a dark green suit, her voice reverberating through the hall with artificial confidence. At Doyle, we don't just deliver freight. We deliver futures. Polite applause followed. And today, I'm proud to showcase our latest innovations, products of tireless collaboration and visionary leadership. Her manicured fingers clicked the remote. Slide 1. A polished animation of LumenTrack trademark, complete with graphs, buzzwords, and mock-ups I'd recognize in my sleep. She kept talking, but the screen didn't change to the next slide. It shifted, just not by her doing. A new image filled the giant display behind her. An email dated 18 months ago. From Madison Doyle to Brianna Doyle. Subject: Preliminary System Architecture, Lumen Concept. She paused, smile twitching. Slide 2. The original diagram of the Lumen routing interface. Slide 3. Metadata showing timestamps and author credentials. Mine. Someone in the crowd coughed. A chair creaked. Then a silence deeper than anything I'd ever heard in this industry fell across the room. Cut the feed, Brianna snapped, turning to Tessa, who sat at the tech desk. Tessa stood, frantic, but security stepped in. Nora had gotten to them first. I saw her in the back, hands on the main control panel, cool as ever. The live stream remained active. Thousands were watching. Slide 4, a side-by-side comparison of Brianna's innovations and my blueprints. Identical, except for the missing name. My name. Brianna stepped forward. This is unauthorized. This is sabotage. I walked onto the stage. No, I said evenly, my voice amplified across the ballroom. This is the truth. No drama, no accusations, just my presence. and the screen doing all the work. Slide 7 showed the October 12th memo, one with my name and one edited without it. Slide 8, a signed witness statement from Nora Carter detailing internal manipulations. Slide 9 was the dagger, overlay of the final Lumen system in Doyle Global Logistics and the original prototype in my possession. No one spoke. No one needed to. I didn't prepare a speech. I didn't need one. Every lie Brianna had told was unraveling in real time, under lights she had paid for. In the front row, a legal advisor leaned close to her. I caught the whisper, barely audible through the mic that hadn't been muted yet. "We're done." I turned and walked off the stage. The applause didn't come immediately. That wasn't the point. The point was silence, and how loud it can be when the truth finally finds its mic. Sometimes the legacy you leave isn't a name. It's what you refuse to pass down. The sun dipped low behind the new Lumen Logistics office, casting a soft amber hue through the glass walls. It was the first Thanksgiving I hadn't spent with my family. By choice. No overcrowded dining rooms, no fake smiles, no brittle conversations tiptoeing around the truth. Just a modest spread of food on a fold-out table and a quiet team that had chosen integrity over ambition. Nora walked in holding a tray of spiced cider. Her cheeks were flushed, her hair loose for once, and when she saw me by the window, she smiled. Not the polite, weary kind I remembered from her days in the accounting department, but something warm. Real. The kind of smile people wear when they finally feel safe. The walls were still bare. We hadn't finished decorating. But that didn't matter. The room pulsed with energy. Laptops humming, laughter rising from 2 interns near the coffee machine, and a corkboard already filling with maps, ideas, and new dreams. The announcement had gone live that morning. Lumen Logistics had secured a $40 million contract with a Scandinavian freight consortium. Clean, transparent, fully backed by a digital infrastructure that couldn't be edited behind closed doors. The emails confirming it had come through my own address. No ghost signatures. No one hiding behind legacy titles. As the room filled with toasts and the clink of glasses, I felt a strange calm spread through me. Nora stepped beside me and handed me a small box. I opened it slowly. Inside was a frame. Simple wood, soft grain. Behind the glass, in delicate lettering, were the words, "To the woman who built quietly." I blinked but didn't speak. I didn't need to. My phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. "Tessa Blake has posted, I made mistakes I'll carry for the rest of my life. Madison, if you ever see this, I'm sorry." I scrolled past it without tapping. Another notification. A scanned letter in my email from Charles and Denise Doyle. "We miss you. It's not too late to come back." I read the first line. That was enough. I deleted it. No anger, no fire, just stillness. Later that evening, we raised a toast, not for revenge or closure, but for beginnings. Not the kind stamped with a family crest or plastered across glossy brochures. The kind that grows quietly. The kind with roots. I left the party a little after sunset, the city still buzzing beyond the glass. I walked 3 blocks out of habit until I reached it. Doyle Global Headquarters. Its windows reflected nothing but the fading sky, a hollow husk of all it had claimed to be. I stood for a moment, watching the sterile blue lights flicker in the lobby. Then I turned around. I didn't look back. Behind me, the new light, Lumen, was rising. The empire once sealed with silence collapsed not with a roar, but with a whisper of truth that could no longer be buried. Madison didn't need revenge in flames. She dismantled a dynasty by simply proving she was there all along. When injustice is met with quiet defiance and precise truth, the verdict echoes longer than any scream. Sometimes what you walk away from says more than what you inherit. And no wall of lies can stand forever against the tide of truth.